Clerks 3. You know, I really shat on the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and I stand by everything I said. That movie was really rough and not funny by any means. But I am so grateful that that was made and sold enough physical copies for him to get money from for Kevin Smith to get money from Lionsgate to make Clerks 3. I 100% would understand why a lot of fans of the Clerks series and Kevin Smith wouldn't like this, because again, just like with the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, it's very serious and it's got a lot of dramatic stuff going on, and it's very sad in a lot of ways. However, I think that works really well for the characters of the Clerks universe because they're older. They're not, my age, dicking around and talking about movies and whatever. The serious tone of it is very appropriate for the characters, actually, because that's what life becomes when you get older. And you can tell, obviously, like I don't know if I said this when I was talking about the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but you can tell that Kevin Smith's heart attack 100% affected, just changed him, changed who he is, and inherently affected these movies now that he's made post heart attack, because he based the movie off of that experience, and you can tell that he's really talking to himself, or it's as if he's juggling these two ideas of feeling like he should be dead, and he got lucky that he survived his heart attack. You just feel how personal this movie is, and you can feel like Kevin Smith put his all into this, which this is his baby. The Clerks series is literally his baby, the baby he had before Harley Quinn. And I loved it. I thought even though it was very serious and very really sad in a lot of ways, I thought that worked so appropriately for where I imagine the characters would be at in their lives. There's no way they could work at a quick stop and be happy people. There's no way that they would, suddenly change. A lot of the decisions he made, I don't want to spoil, you should just go watch it, but a lot of the decisions he made were unexpected and not, definitely not a lot of laughs, but there are plenty of laughs. It feels like he really made a movie here. The Jay and Silent Bob reboot is really not a movie at all. It feels like it was just something for the fans to feel included in, and that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. I really do think that this worked so well. I think the dramatic approach, or the very serious approach, worked so well because finality is always a very sad, serious thing. It sucks when things end, not even just in death, but just things ending in general. The Clerks series is over now. It's done. He shouldn't make another. If you know the ending of this movie, there's no way they can make another one after this. This is it. And so I'm just glad that it exists, and I'm surprised that I'm watching it 4 years later because I was anticipating this movie for years. I followed Kevin. I don't follow really any celebrities or anybody on Instagram anymore, and I'm barely on there nowadays. But I was following him for years, and I remember seeing him post like the picture of the script and seeing him hype all this stuff. And I just, for whatever reason, it's not like the reviews or what I heard about it deterred me from watching it. I just remember finding it was hard to find a way to watch it, and I didn't want to torrent it. I didn't want to pirate it. So I bought it, and I got to say the most lovely part about this is that Kevin Smith has a clip right before the main menu even comes. He has a clip of him thanking the consumer, thanking you, the audience, for buying a physical copy. Now, as someone who's recently got back into physical media 20-something years later, that really hit home for me. And him just saying, in the intro, he talks about how important physical media is and how you can't rely on a cloud. Basically everything that I've been thinking recently when it comes to, like, I've been buying movies because I have a fear of a subscription-based future taking over everything. And I just really, I love that he threw that in there. And that's when I learned that he was talking about how selling physical copies of the Jay and Silent Bob reboot helped land a deal with Lionsgate to make this movie. And I just loved that so much. I really appreciated that he put that in there. And I love that Kevin Smith is not only he not only like adores his fans, he feels like he's making things for them at this point, or that felt like he was literally talking to me directly. And I've been watching Kevin Smith's movies for 20 years. I remember watching Jay and Silent Bob randomly on Comedy Central, and then an old buddy of mine, we watched Clerks 2 when it came out at least 5 or 6 times, I think, within one weekend or a couple of weeks. Like he rented it and we watched it at his house over and over and over again. And Clerks 2 is such a special movie that is synonymous with that era of my life and that specific time period for me. So this was very, very, I'm not going to lie, this was very emotional. I was crying by the end of it, and it was a very, it was just I honestly thought it was a very beautiful conclusion to the characters. We got closure with a lot of things. And I'm just glad that I got to have closure with these guys, because I love them. And the movie has so many nods to only until I didn't know how many references he was making to the first Clerks movie until I read the first movie's IMDb trivia. And there were just countless references to what the making of that first movie was like. And it basically, if you know Kevin Smith really well, or you're super, you're just that much of a fan that you're super aware of every little reference, and that you're really going to appreciate this movie that much more, because he brought back so many, it was just like a lot of nods to the first movie, or a lot of references, but in a good way, and in a way that wasn't self-indulgent. The Jay and Silent Bob reboot, looking back, like now that I'm seeing this, looking back, that movie felt like 100% pure fan service, where this is him, it's not even fan service, but him, giving us a conclusion to these characters, but still making it a personal movie, or making it the way he wanted to make it. Now, apparently he had a falling out with Jeff Anderson, the guy that plays Randall, and not until they were signing merchandise for the Jay and Silent Bob reboot did they actually make up. And then Jeff Anderson apparently influenced the script that he wanted, that the script for the movie that actually made it to the final cut. Basically, Kevin Smith wrote a script, scrapped that as soon as he relinked up with Jeff Anderson, and then they both kind of bounced ideas off of each other, what they thought would be an appropriate movie, or whatever would make the movie more appropriate for Randall's character, I suppose. And it was, I fucking loved this so much, and I didn't think I would. I thought it was going to be like, I was hoping I wouldn't be as disappointed as the Jay and Silent Bob reboot left me feeling, but I didn't know I would love it as much as I did. I'm shocked that I really appreciated the dramatic tone, and just it's his baby, man. It felt like I was watching someone close this. It's like he's closed the book on his career, and even though he'll still make movies, really everything that he made from Clerks 1 to Clerks 3, that's Kevin Smith's career. That's his life, and that's his work. That's just his whole, resume in a nutshell right there. And Kevin Smith, what I really appreciate about him is that he takes risks, and he isn't afraid to make the kind of movie that he wants to make, even if you don't like it. Like, I've never seen Tusk. I kind of want to, though, because I've heard just so many mixed things. Something tells me that I'll like it. Usually when a movie is divisive, I'll most of the time like it. But I love his other types of movies, like Red State, and pretty much most of the stuff that he's made. I've never seen Yoga Hosers. That movie looks just like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. It just looks like it looks too thrown together. I don't like when movies are just kind of like shot and edited and thrown together, as opposed to feeling like there's a lot of heart in it. And this movie felt, and how could he not have a lot of heart in it? What I really like how can he not put himself so much of himself in it? This is his like shit. This is like the Clerks movies are the like exactly what Kevin Smith is in movie form, or at least like his personality. It's the most of his personality in those movies. I love that this felt like a Clerks movie, where the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, the only reason I'm referencing that so much is because they were made only a few years apart, and the quality of both of them are completely different, completely night and day quality. What I loved is that this felt like a Clerks movie. He has music that he likes. Oh my God, My Chemical Romance Welcome to the Black Parade in the beginning. Oh my fucking God, that really, because I remember reading that in when he posted pictures of the Clerks 3 script originally on Instagram. I remember seeing that in the action, in the whatever the description of how the opening of the movie starts, and seeing that actually happen now years later, seeing it actually like happen in the movie. I thought it was so lovely. He's very good at picking songs that he likes and implementing them. I know Tarantino, a lot of filmmakers do that, obviously. Scorsese has used Gimme Shelter in like multiple movies. Dude loves the Stones, I guess. But Kevin Smith, Clerks 1 and 2, or not, I don't know, but I don't remember if the first one had that. But Clerks 2, I loved that he, uses the music that he wants to use and makes it exactly the way he wants to make it. And Clerks 3 at least felt like an actual continuation of the second movie, where Jay and Silent Bob reboot literally like doesn't exist, and that is not canon at all to me in the Jay and Silent Bob movie series or whatever, as a sequel to that or whatever, reboot. And I think that's why he put reboot in it and kept making that distinction of this isn't a remake, it's a reboot, and the differences between those, because he knew that it wasn't even a real Jay and Silent Bob movie, or it's barely a movie, in all honesty. It felt like a YouTube video watching that shit. So, yeah, I loved that. I just loved that I finally watched it and that I got some a conclusion to this. Sometimes that's why I put off things. Sometimes I don't want to finish things. Like now that I've watched this, now it's done, and I don't have that feeling of like looking forward to it. Sometimes I put things off to have it to look forward to, because you can't watch something for the first time ever again. So, Kevin Smith, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done and for inspiring someone like myself or a lot of other people probably to make movies, and just for the sake of making them. I like that Kevin Smith just likes movies and wants to do his thing with them. Well, I understand completely why a lot of people wouldn't like the serious tone of this and want more of the laughs and want more of the goofiness, and like this movie is very sad and tragic in a lot of ways, and it is fun. It is funny a lot. I thought a lot of the jokes were great, and I thought a lot of the stuff actually stuck. A lot of those jokes actually stuck the landing, or there were at least like some funny moments. What they did with Elias's character is so fucking funny. I really appreciated that. And Jay and Silent Bob were, I think we could have used some more laughs from them. That's one criticism that I will say is Jay and Silent Bob are like the best parts of Clerks 1 and 2, and especially 2. Jason Mewes in Clerks 2 and Zack and Mary Make a Porno is like some of the funniest shit I have ever seen in film history. Jason Mewes in both of those movies, he is the funniest fucking guy in the entire world. And of course in the first movie as well. I just mean in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as well. Those three movies, Jason Mewes is his musiest. He's so fucking funny in that era. Something else before I forget to mention this, something else that reminded me that I was thinking of while watching this, or something that just crossed my mind while watching it, was I don't know if Kevin Smith's movies belong in the modern world, or at least I don't know if his style, and what I mean by that is his style of filmmaking is so 90s and 2000s, like not even like the references that he would make in the older movies, but just the way that his movies feel. It feels like they are meant to be in the 90s and 2000s. So I think watching this and seeing it through this kind of modern lens of like, well, how is the world today? Like there are very much a lot of moments where he threw in like, again, like a lot of people do, like South Park has done that with PC Principle. Like he threw in stuff to like show like, oh, like I know that this isn't politically correct, but as long as we say that it's not okay to say this, then it's okay to say it, right? So you had like a group of black characters that came in and they were like, doing their black thing and talking about like the lack of diversity or whatever the hell. And then there was another part where they referenced the Asian designer in the first movie, and then one of the guys was just like, oh, this feels a little racist. So there's a lot of that, just like eye rolling, like, yes, we know that we're not allowed to be as crass and blunt as we once were in the 90s and 2000s. I get that, but it's kind of, again, what I mean is like his style of filmmaking. What I love about Kevin Smith's dialogue or like his writing is it's something I would make 100%. Most movies that are dialogue driven I love, but I've only felt that if I were to write characters, or at least especially for a comedy, I've always felt like Kevin Smith is my like another, like me in another life, as far as I love crass, blunt, unapologetic and rough around the edges dialogue and characters that don't give a fuck. They just say whatever they want. Randall is one of the best characters because he doesn't give a shit about, how his words affect others. And that's just very relatable for somebody like me, as you can see if you've been keeping up with this channel. So with all that in mind, I hold up my torch to Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for your work, and thank you so much for making movies. Clerks 1, the first Clerks movie, is the most inspirational piece of cinema to me because of how effective it is with, very little money and just some people kind of standing around talking and it being filmed. I love that movie feels like a homemade video. It doesn't even feel like a movie. It feels like they actually filmed real people, and just the way it's shot, the way it feels, it's so documentary-esque. Kevin Smith he's my literally like the he's so synonymous with my upbringing. I by the time I hit high school, I was referencing Zach and Miri make a porno constantly, and just he was the shit when I was in high school. Kevin Smith was like right after Zach and Miri was made. I mean, I was so upset. I loved what comedy was at that time so much. I love what Comedy Central was, and Broken Lizard was doing their thing with Beer Fest and all those types of movies. I miss when comedy was comedy, and it was just very straight and to the point. And I keep saying this, but it's extremely blunt and crass. That's very important for comedy, to have some sort of edge in it. Why is Superbad funny, even though the characters are very, basically practically sexist in a lot of ways? Superbad is funny because it's real. Clerks is a funny movie because it's real. If you've ever worked a retail job or worked in a little, I feel like I'm living my Clerks era right now, and I can see myself doing the same thing of writing a movie set that takes place in a dispensary. And when I was watching this, it was eerie because it felt like there was one point where Jay and Silent Bob are outside, and they basically, by this time they've converted the video store into a weed dispensary. So there's this guy that's coming, he's like, hey, is anybody working here? He's coming outside and shit. And Jay is just like, yo, that's how we used to do in the 90s. And he's like, well, I want some pre-rolls. It felt like I was at work. I was literally just selling pre-rolls earlier tonight. And yeah, if you ever worked any of those types of jobs, Clerks 1 is very, and just those types of movies where it's just people working in a dead-end job, it's so relatable. I loved watching Siskel and Ebert's review of this afterwards. It popped up, and I was watching the alternate ending of the first Clerks movie, and I was just kind of nerding out on it a little bit there, but it was great watching Siskel and Ebert talk about it. And at the time, this came out in '94. I love that they made the point of oh yeah, there are all these movies about cops and these crazy high intensity, high place in society and very intense and anxiety inducing types of careers. There were a lot of movies like that in the 80s and 90s where it was just it was all big, it was all this guy has got to save the world, or there's monsters attacking. There was a lot of big shit happening in the 80s and 90s that for Kevin Smith to just be yeah, no, this just takes place in a convenience store for an hour and a half, or just anybody that had the guts to do something like that could easily be just the most. Same thing with the Chinese restaurant episode of Seinfeld. It's such a risky move to do something that is so against the grain, and at that time those seem very normal. Now there have been countless movies that are all that and slice of life storytelling has been a thing forever. It's not like that's anything new. However, that was more of a thing in live stage plays or done in a very specific way. Indie movies were always indie movies, or there was a place for those very small budget sleeper movies. But the way that Clerks 1 really, changed up a lot of things was Kevin Smith's personality being so implemented into it, and it feeling like that first movie just feels. It literally feels like your buddies in high school like made a movie, or your buddy's older brother who's in college or works at a place like just showed you the movie that they made, and that's really what it was. Kevin Smith was just working at that place and lived it, and he says that at the end of the credits of this too. I love that at the end of Clerks 3, he put like a little personal message of just like, saying what I just said, how he lived this life and how he felt like how he was basically referencing how Randall said, this job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers. And he realized at some point, oh no, this job is great because of the customers. I don't know if I can say I agree with that, but no, he's right as far as when you want to tell stories or when you want to be any sort of writer, or if you're in the creative world, you really appreciate the normalcy of a lot of things, or the regularness of life, I guess. You find a lot of lovely things with just day-to-day interactions, or like I feel like writers are just hyper observant and look at least I am. I'm not like a film writer, story writer by any means, not yet at least. But as a songwriter, all of my songs are totally like ripped just from my personal experiences, and all writing has to be that way. And Kevin Smith, even if his recent movies, excluding Clerks, I think this is fucking great. Like even if his recent movies haven't been like all like home runs or whatever, I can appreciate and I can respect him just making the movie he wants to make, and he's just kind of like, fuck what people think of it. Like, fuck him. Like, I get that. I totally get that. And someone tells me he's like that, has that attitude. He's got to, right? At least I assume he does. I still have yet to rewatch the Clerks animated series, but now I'm very excited to do that because it's something I haven't watched since I watched it when I was a kid. It's like literally like, I don't know, 13 or 14, watching that on like TiVo or some shit back in the day. And I think it was on Adult Swim when I watched it, and I can't wait to revisit that because it's just, and I have to rewatch the first Clerks movie as well because it's been years since I've watched that too. But I can't wait to revisit them and kind of just fall in love with his movies again. And I plan on getting Dogma and some of his other flicks in a physical copy as well. I believe all I need to get left is Red State and... What did I just say? Yeah, Red State, Dogma, Chasing Amy, and Tusk. I definitely wouldn't mind watching them, even if it's like not great. It looks like a trip. It looks like a very weird trip of a movie. But thank you, Kevin Smith. Thank you so much. Your work is really lovely and very inspirational in this movie. Hey, love it or hate it, we get some closure with these characters because there was the way that Clerks 2 ends was, I mean, even the way that Clerks 2 ended, honestly, is like that would have been a fine ending too, but I'm glad that we got like some definitive like finality with these characters, and it felt like a good conclusion, or very like it feels like there's something that is the door is closed now, and I can kind of move on from that era as well, and it feels like he has too. It feels like he's done all he can with these characters from Clerks. And while I think he could easily throw them, he should do another Jay and Silent Bob movie because that last one was so rough. But he should do more. He could always do more of these types of movies and have these characters featured in it as a side thing. He doesn't have to, make another Clerks movie just to use these same. He's good at like doing that, having them all kind of cross. There's this whole universe that he's created, obviously. But Kevin Smith, thank you so much for the work you've done. Thank you for that video in the very beginning. Completely won me over. Like, I'm not kidding. I was so like, I was so bothered by like how the reboot, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, made me feel. Like I was just so like, it felt like just like really disappointed. You could just hear it in my voice. Like I was so bothered by how much I just wanted to like it mildly, and I couldn't. Like I just wanted to like it a little bit, or a little more than the reviews were having me assume I would feel about it, and it was not it's just it was such a okay. Yeah, you get my point. Yeah, it was just really bad. So at least I felt it was pretty bad in how it was just not funny. That feeling was instantly fucking it instantly turned 180 degrees the opposite direction when I saw that intro video clip of him showing his appreciation for just me buying the fucking thing. That's never happened in any movie that I bought ever. That's never happened with anything that I bought ever. Like maybe in a video game here or there. Like sometimes video games are just like, thank you for playing. Here's what you need to know. But like most movies, it's not like I've ever watched a movie and had the director himself thank me directly that saying thank you for purchasing the disc and actually purchasing the movie. It just adds up to it's interesting that this copy is like in French as well. It's like I hope I don't mispronounce it, but Comédie en Folie 3. Comédie en Folie 3. Is that how you pronounce it? I think it's French. Yeah, it's got to be French. Maybe. I have no idea. Anyway, I should learn French. I think I want to learn how to speak French and Spanish before I die, or at least a little bit of them. I think they're really beautiful languages. I really adore anybody, and Tarantino as well, anybody who's and Richard Linklater, all of these guys that made like their breakout film was low budget. I just have such a profound respect for people that can make something entertaining without a lot of like bells and whistles, like shit, blowing up and shit, being very like overly produced or whatever. I really can appreciate the time and attention and the care that you have to have for what's happening in the story, in the story itself, and with the characters themselves. Like you have to make all of that feel interesting and feel like it's enjoyable to watch, and that's very hard to make characters that interesting that you just want to kind of hang out with them and nothing big has to happen. That's very hard to do that. Pulp Fiction feels like that. Pulp Fiction is like even that has some like action sequences though, or some budget to it. Reservoir Dogs does too. Even though those movies are cheaper, they still require you. Tarantino can't make a good movie without some guns and blood. Is really what it comes down. Without some blood being shed, Tarantino, I don't know if he could make. Obviously, we saw that in Once Upon a Time with Hollywood because the only interesting part of that movie was the last 5 or 10 minutes of it. I wasn't crazy about that movie until the very end. Hateful Eight, I thought did it really well, however, where it was a lot of intensity. But anyway, we're not talking about Tarantino. I'm just saying Kevin Smith it's very appropriate because Pulp Fiction, Clerks 1 came out the same year. That's all. But Kevin Smith and him and all these guys that make movies with less at their disposal, and it's still like considered a classic or one of the best movies ever made, or just has that cult following aspect. Specifically, like Kevin Smith has like a lot of. Clerks was like a cult following type of movie at one point, obviously. So, I just have such a profound respect for people that can do a lot with a little, because I am exactly the same way. The album I'm making right now is probably the most effort I've put into any of my music ever when it comes to the amount of production and the amount of instruments that I'm putting on every single song. And I love how much I'm doing with that. However, I've always tried to pride myself doing the same thing. Pride myself in what can I do? Can I make something interesting or remotely entertaining, or have the littlest bit of depth to it with like absolutely fucking nothing. I think, and that's because of my doing theater and shit my whole life. Goes hand in hand with that. I was always loving theater when it was people just dressed in black, like talking on stage, no set, no props, nothing. I've always loved like what Shakespeare does for the actor, as far as how much you have to work with just fucking words, and it's pure acting. You don't get to, rely on something to save you or make you look good. You have to make it good. So someone who I consider myself small, very part-time actor. I don't act as much as I did back when I was in high school. I thought I was going to go to like college for theater and be an actor. I really wanted to do that for a living for quite a while when I was younger. But what I'm getting at is like, yeah, my theater background for the love of how much can you do with absolutely nothing is something that I will always be completely obsessed with. I'm absolutely obsessed with that more than anything. That's the reason why I like a lot of stuff on Adult Swim, or just anything that's cheap. I love cheap garbage, or just very an amateur. Like, my favorite thing in the world with all this stuff is, like, I don't want to say an amateur approach, but like a beginner's approach with like a highly experienced person behind that. I'm not saying that I'm like that. I'm just saying these filmmakers are so good at just knowing what they want out of something, and that's why they don't really need a crazy budget, because they are just very sure of the kind of movie that they want to make, and they know that they don't that they can do. I don't know. They can get the job done regardless. So yeah. If we're talking about that, Kevin Smith, even though his movies got like, Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back were obviously much bigger movies, and those are still very good as well. The reason Clerks 1 and 2 are very special to me, or very important to me, is because they're absolute comedy classics with just very solid writing and acting and just funny. It's just funny. He's good. He's good at that kind of like acid tongue comedy. While that's not, while I don't always believe that mean comedy or people being dicks to each other equals funny, the way he uses these characters, mainly like Randall's character, obviously, the way that he approaches it, you got to know how to do that, is what I'm saying. Kevin Smith knows how to do that. And I guess I want to see him make another movie like that. It was very in your face and just absolutely like bonkers and over the top and inappropriate. I guess I want to see more of that like inappropriate stuff. So I hope he makes another goofy ass movie like that eventually. And if not, maybe somebody else will. Maybe somebody will be inspired by his work and try to make something similar to that. I don't have anything else to say. I've been talking about this a lot longer than I expected to, but Clerks 3, whether you like it or not, whether you love the serious tone or not, this is a solid, I personally think this is a very solid final part of the Clerks trilogy. It's a solid part 3. And it just felt appropriate. I mean, I know that it felt appropriate because the guy who fucking made the other movies and all the entire fucking thing made it. So Kevin Smith is, he knows how to do his shit with his universe of movies and his it's like Wes Anderson doing his thing or Tarantino doing his thing. These guys are just so good at making their shit. And that's how all artists should be. All artists should just like do the thing that they want to do. Don't think about anything else. Your goal is not anything other than, what do I want out of this? Kevin Smith and all of these guys know what the fuck they want out of their shit, whether you like it or not. And he's such a film nerd. This movie was like just chock full of like all sorts of references to things, and I feel old now knowing that I got every single reference in that, but I appreciated that that he's still good at that he's still good at saying what he wants to say. And this video is me saying what I want to say. I think you should say what you want to say or express yourself, and you should speak your mind if you feel the need to do so. And I think everyone should speak their mind always. I think everyone should have the freedom to be their full selves without feeling self-conscious about that. I don't think movies like this can be made if you stop and think about what will people think if I say this or do that. You can't think about others when you're creating. You have to think about yourself, and you have to be selfish as fuck and go inward. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to smoke weed and maybe watch the bonus features of this. Or watch the animated series, because that sounds really good too. More reviews coming. I plan on watching, I guess, like the next movies that I have in the lineup The next few movies I plan on watching are The Village, Lost in Translation, About a Boy. I don't know if anybody's heard of that movie, but Hugh Grant, a very young Nicholas Hoult. So I'm going to review some of those movies, and more to come. Thank you so much for sticking around if you're watching this channel, and thank you so much for being here with me now. This guy totally inspired me to do more of that. I gotta like be more about you guys, I think, and I gotta be more about, you know, making sure that I'm doing everything that I can to show appreciation to you, and you all keep me going. You're all the reason that I want to keep doing this and keep just making videos, and this guy's the reason I want to keep doing this, and all this stuff is so fascinating to me. I love art so much. I love seeing human beings show their human self. Their human selves are very it's very important. It's very important for people to be who they are. Except for the President of the United States. He can go fuck himself.